Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you. It's very early in the morning here in the UK, and I wanted to share some of my experiences with you. The theme of my presentation is slightly different to the previous presentations. I want to talk about the empowering ability of technologies to help disabled people. And there is no better person I can think of in the world to help me with this presentation than Simon Stevens, who is a remarkable young man who is going to tell his own story. So I would like to go through my slides quite quickly to allow Simon to tell his story. In fact, Simon is going to be using one of the technologies that was described in the first presentation we had this morning. He's going to be using a text-to-speech converter to deliver the audio for his presentation because his condition leaves him with a speech impairment, which makes him a little bit difficult to understand unless you know Simon. So I'll get straight on with it. My structure of the presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about enabling technologies and what I mean by those, and give you a little bit of background to how I came to know Simon and some of the projects that we've been involved in together. I'm going to hand over to Simon and then finish at the end with some conclusions. And when we have questions and answers, it would be helpful if you could open up your group chat so that we can use text as well to communicate to each other. A point I want to make is that all of us, from the time we are born, we are genetically programmed to try to make the best of the world around us, but we are all constrained by our physical and mental limitations. We can only walk or run so quickly, we can only lift so much in weight, and our mental abilities are also limited. So from the beginning of time, we have been differentiated ourselves from the animal world because we have had the ability to be able to innovate and develop inventions which empower us with extra strength and speed, whether it's things like the invention of the wheel or the ability to use technology to lift very heavy weights and construct things by collaborating with each other. So it's very much a physical and use of technology to both empower ourselves physically and mentally. So over the centuries that mankind's existed, we have developed many kinds of technologies to leverage our capabilities as individuals, from very early script writing to the Roman roads, which helped to develop their civilization, the invention of the printing press, which allowed us to share ideas with the rest of the world, to communications technologies like canals and railways, radio, cinema, television, and the technology we're using today, which makes it possible for me, sat in my living room in the UK, to be able to share my ideas with people in Korea and Japan, and potentially later on all over the world. So whether we are physically described as physically able or not, or disabled, we all of us in some way or other use technology to overcome our limitations. So we invent devices and machines that help us to overcome these difficulties, particularly if we have problems with hearing, eyesight and mobility. So this sets the scene to my talking about Simon Stevens, whom I first met almost 14 years ago. I was involved in a community technology project, and as part of that project I ran a series of initiatives, and in fact in a very similar way to we are using technology for a webinar today, back in 2002 I ran a combined webinar as part of a radio broadcast program. and every morning I would do a radio breakfast chat show, and I would invite guests to show or talk about how they were using technology to empower their lives, and every day had a different theme. And one of the days was on the use of ICT for disabilities. The way it worked was that we had a webinar exactly like this, except we weren't using video. We were just using presentation slides and audio, and as well as it being broadcast over the internet so that people could see slide presentations and hear the audio, it was also broadcast over local radio. And to set up this program, I used the internet to find people for my program, and Simon was one of the people who received my newsletter, and we communicated by email. I invited people to send me their presentations and their ideas, and Simon submitted an excellent PowerPoint presentation. And I should stress at this point, I had not met Simon, so I had never communicated with him by anything other than email. So I did not know. I knew he had cerebral palsy, but I did not know he had a speech impairment. So I invited Simon to present on my radio broadcast, and when the time came, Simon connected by telephone for his audio, and he loaded his presentation slides upon the screen and began his presentation. And it was only when Simon first spoke that I realized that he had a speech impairment, which made it very difficult for me to understand what he was saying and for people who were listening. However, the superb lesson that I learned from Simon's presentation was that his slides said everything for him. So his speech impairment really made no difference to the way he communicated. He was able to explain his ideas very clearly through his slide presentation. And I realized that Simon was a very intelligent young man. And in fact, he was more knowledgeable about the use of technology generally than I was. And one of the reasons for this was because that Simon had a need to use technology to overcome some of the problems associated with his disability. So I developed, that was a started relationship with Simon. We continued to communicate, and some years later, when I began to work at De Montfort University, I was sending out a newsletter, and in one of the newsletters I mentioned a new virtual world called Second Life. And Simon, being his usual very inquisitive and entrepreneurial self, went into Second Life, and he made some remarkable use of Second Life, which he's going to tell you about, that transformed his life and also the lives of many other people. And I should stress that despite some of the problems and disabilities, impairments that Simon has, he has had a bigger influence on the lives of many people around the world than I have, because he has been able to inspire and encourage other people to be able to use these technologies. The final thing that I want to mention was that when I became director of the Serious Games Institute, I had no hesitation in inviting Simon to be a member of our project team. And there was one occasion when we had a project meeting where not just Simon, but several other members of the team could not attend physically because they were in other places or they were doing other things. So for that meeting, we decided to hold the meeting in the Second Life virtual world. We had our own virtual boardroom. You can see a picture of this on the screen. And all of the participants were not physically in the same place. We all logged on to this virtual world, and we conducted our meeting in Second Life. And because of Simon's speech impairment, we made a rule that as chairman of the meeting, I was the only person allowed to use audio. Everyone else typed in what they had to say into text chat. You can see Simon is the person in the white shirt in the boardroom, and I have to say this was one of the most productive project meetings I've ever been to, because apart from the fact we finished everything on time, it also meant that we had a complete record of our dialogue through the text chat area. This provided us with an automatic set of minutes for the meeting. So it was a fabulous example of enabling technologies. So that's enough from me. I'd like now to hand over to Simon, who's going to show you his slide presentation, and he's going to be using text speech to chat to deliver his audio. So Simon, would you like to go ahead with your presentation now, please?
It is no understatement to suggest that without the technology we enjoy today, my quality of life as well as my presence in the world would be severely compromised, leaving me with little ability to make a meaningful contribution to my community and society. Throughout my life, I have been a sponge to new technology, soaking up its potential as someone ready to enhance it to see how it can further develop my goal of making a difference to other disabled people. Explore with me how the history of personal computing is intertwined with my own personal journey, as both technology and myself have grown and developed in the last 40 years. I was born in 1974, and due to complications with my birth, it left me with cerebral palsy. This has meant that I am unable to write using a pen and have a speech impairment, mobility difficulties, and so on. Since I have not known anything different than being impaired, I never saw why my difficulties would stop me achieving what I wanted as I grew up and embarked on my career. When I started secondary school in 1985, a mainstream school, being unable to write was a big deal. There were home computers with an average memory of just 16K, that's a billionth of the memory of my current iPhone, and word processing was in its infancy. I was given an Epson HX20, which I only discovered recently was the world's first laptop. It had a built-in printer and printed using till receipt paper. As new technology came on the market, I was eager to try it, and over the years I have progressed through numerous portable and desktop computers. Each new device was not just a new toy, but also a new opportunity to make my life easier and open up new opportunities to do more. I always took the time to explore all the features of new devices and software in ways few people do, to really take full advantage of what can be achieved. The biggest breakthrough and probably the world's greatest invention was the Internet. The Internet radically changed what is meant by community, providing me with a voice in a way that was seemingly impossible before. Today is a perfect example. Without the Internet, it would be unimaginable for me to present at a conference in Korea while sitting at home in Coventry, UK. But the Internet is not just about communicating and exchanging information. It is also about intercultural learning on a huge scale. The Internet has enabled me to grow as a person, to express myself as a person, and use my strengths and reduce my weaknesses. Second Life is a virtual world that played an important part in my personal development and gave me an opportunity to shine with the creation of my virtual nightclub, Realize, which launched in 2006. It is something that needs to be seen to be believed, but it is basically a disability-themed music venue where people from all over the world can come and virtually dance using their avatars. An avatar in itself has been an important way for people to express themselves. While many people have chosen Second Life to escape from the realities of real life and reflected this by making their avatar very different to their real selves, I was the first person to have an avatar that used a wheelchair. My logic was that I did not have time to be anyone but myself, and I am proud about who I am, and did not want my impairment to be invisible, since it is not invisible in real life. While this was a natural and automatic decision for me, I was overwhelmed at the media and academic attention around the world my decision caused, as it significantly challenged people's perceptions of disability. I think technology, particularly the internet, has been the single biggest piece of technology that has changed my life. Actually, it has made my life. Without the internet, I would be lost. I know everyone here would say the same, but for me, it is so true, as I am unlikely to survive any post-horrific world as so many science fiction films predict. I am always excited about the future of technology because of the opportunities it could provide me. I think the improved interconnection of devices and things like smartwatches will make environmental control easier, where I can control my washing machine and other devices from my iPad or Mac, offering me that extra bit of independence from the personal assistants I employ to assist me. Technology makes me less disabled and has enabled me to compete on an equal basis with my peers, and I am very grateful for that. I am happy to answer any questions you may have if we have any time. Please also feel free to look at my website or follow me on Twitter.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Simon. I'm now coming back to my slideshow just to finish off this presentation and invite questions. So I think you will see that Simon has made excellent use of technology himself, but not just in today's presentation, but he has made excellent use of technology throughout his life in fact, to achieve far more than many able-bodied people would be able to achieve. So I would like to conclude by making a few observations, really. Every one of us uses enabling technologies within our lives to help us to achieve more than we could do as an individual by our own power, and help us to shape the world around us and have an impact on not only our own life, but the lives of others. And so our ability as human beings to innovate and our motivation to fulfill our potential is vital. And Simon possesses both of these in very full measure. He's a wonderful entrepreneur and innovator, and as he runs his own consultancy business for people with disabilities, and I am certain that he would welcome collaborating people with Japan and Korea and all over the world to share his expertise. And because he's got very first-hand personal knowledge of some of the problems of disabilities, he's an excellent person to provide some advice on what technology is available and what it can do for people in the same situation. And also, I think it's very important to recognize that some of the problems that we've heard about in earlier presentations arise because people make judgments about those who are disabled. And as you'll see from Simon's presentation, just because people have a physical or a vocal impairment doesn't mean that they are not intelligent and that they are not able to be able to achieve great things. Simon has a fantastic number of followers on Twitter. It's over 5,000 now, and he's a very well respected international figure who's spoken at various conferences and whose work's been recognized throughout the whole world. So both of us would be delighted to answer any questions that you may have. And all I would ask is that you use the text chat area if you do have any questions. So I'll now stop sharing my presentation and invite any questions that you might have for me or Simon.
Okay. Do you have any questions? No.
So, may I direct a question to Dr. Wiltley?
Yes?
Okay.
Your presentation was very interesting to me. So, do you have any experience of measurement of the satisfaction or effectiveness of the system you applied?
I don't have any statistics, but I am about to embark. I'm about to transfer to Malaysia to set up a new institute at the University of Malaysia. What I have done, and this will be the basis of a major health initiative I want to launch, is I have used myself as a kind of guinea pig for the use of sensor technologies, in my case, to overcome obesity and pre-diabetes condition. I'm looking to launch a major initiative next month, which will involve collaboration with health professionals, but also people within industry. And it's based on my experience of the use of sensor technologies to improve my situation. What I use, I'm just showing it on my wrist now, I use a lifestyle tracking device called a Jawbone Up, which measures my physical activity, and it connects to an iPad application, which I'm trying to show you now on the screen. I don't know whether you can see that, but this application measures my physical activity, it measures my sleep, and it also measures the nutritional value of the food that I eat. So over the last year, I've been using technology to manage my own health. I managed to lose 21 kilos in weight, and my blood test results have improved remarkably. And what I'm looking to do is to work with people in Asia to use sensor technology to help people to go through the same experience that I've had and to examine the result. We've already heard that from the presenter in Japan about program in Bangladesh, and I would like to set up something similar, but to use technology and gamification strategies to help people use technology to better manage their own health and their own lifestyle. At the moment, I don't have any statistics, but this is the reason why I want to set up a major trial, because I think if the results that I've achieved for myself can be replicated for thousands of people, it will represent not only an incredibly improved quality of life for those involved in the project, but also reduce costs to the healthcare system and ways of tackling some of the problems associated with the aging society.
Thank you.
Any other questions for myself or Simon?
If any questions, please raise your hand.
Okay, so somebody's got a question for Simon. So Simon will use the text chat to respond to that question, which says that, given his experiences, could he provide a few examples of the advancement of IT benefits? So whilst Simon is responding to that in the text chat area, I would just like to share one experience where there has been advancement in IT, which has actually been a disadvantage to Simon, and that is in the Second Life virtual world, because when Second Life was first introduced, it was very empowering, but it had no voice over IP or audio capabilities. So when Simon was setting up his nightclub and everyone was using text chat, it was a level playing field for everyone. But when audio came into it and people communicated via audio, this meant that Simon again was placed at a disadvantage, because of his speech impairment, it was more difficult for him to communicate via audio. So IT can be very empowering, but it can also inadvertently sometimes add to the problem. So I will leave Simon to type in his own reply.
Okay. Are there any questions? So some chatting.
Any other questions for me or Simon?
We have some chattings on there.
Yeah, Simon has typed in a reply now. For those of you who don't have group chat, so what Simon's saying is that the technologies that have advanced in his lifetime has helped him with banking, online shopping. He can buy his food online. He uses email that allows him to work from home. And as you'll see I've seen from Simon's presentation, his text to audio to supplement his presentation slides was also very empowering.
Okay. Okay, so are there any questions? Okay, I have a
well. I would just like to thank you all for the opportunity to be able to share our experiences with you, and I very much hope that we can continue our collaboration and also involve Simon in some of our work, because he, through his personal experience, has a lot of value and knowledge to be able to share with you all. And I look forward to coming out to join you in Asia, hopefully in September, and to collaborate with you on important projects which can make a difference to the health of everyone in the world.
Okay, so thank you, David Waterley. So I really remember your presentation on this June activity, or May, so at the Temple Stage. So why don't we have some Asia or global network for the some forum on this kind of activity on disability ICT forum. So if you have any plan to make that kind of a forum, so I really would like to join, and maybe Korea National Rehabilitation Center will join this kind of activity by regular meetings. So what do you think about that?
I think it's a very good idea, and I would be very interested in working with you, and I'm sure Simon would also be interested in being part of that, because it is a passion that we share to try and use technology to improve the lives of as many people as possible. And there are the main directions and the main focus of that are first of all to find ways of sharing knowledge about how to help people with impairments and disabilities, and secondly also on the health maintenance and prevention area, particularly with some very important things like diabetes, obesity and lifestyle related problems.
Okay, so I would like to conclude this session. So today's session was the synergetic effect of ICT in solving the difficulties of people with disabilities. So today this healthcare session has been persistently explored how we can collaborate in solving healthcare issues by adopting new information technologies. So far, today's session is really impressive for me and for our people. So I really think this ICT can help or can support our societies, and so we can make some difference from using this kind of activities. And also I thank you all, the staff and the speakers, for your valuable presentation, and a special thanks to Simon Stevens for your being here and telling about your personal journey to us, our group. Thank you again. Goodbye. So see you, if you have opportunity, see you next APAN meeting. Next APAN meeting will be held in Fukuoka, Japan. So please keep in touch with us, and thank you again. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, and goodbye. I'm going back to bed now.
Okay. Thank you.